Hey everybody, my name is Jared and I am a master mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America. And this is the Forget Me Not tie from Edgar over at Masonic Revival. Now I chose this tie for a specific reason for this video. Usually when we're using the Forget Me Not flower, we're using it to either remember somebody who is far away from us and we can't have constant contact with them, or it's somebody who's passed on and we don't want to forget their memory. So let's talk about death by going into the scripture that is used at the opening of the Master Mason degree here in the state of Mississippi. It is from Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and it reads like this. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way. And the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail. Because man goeth to his long home, and mourners go about the streets. Or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Just as we saw in the Entered Apprentice and Fellowcraft degree, this scripture has specific meaning to the ceremony or ritual that is being done in the Master Mason degree. Now, I am not a theologian. I've studied the Bible. I've even taught the Bible. But I cannot sit here and tell you what Solomon, who is the supposed writer of Ecclesiastes, was meaning when he wrote all of this symbology that is in these verses. But what I can do is explain to you at least what it means to me and what it has generally been accepted by other people to mean as well. So we're going to kind of piece apart these verses and give you a little bit better insight as to what these words mean. Not only is it useful to you to think about these, even if you're not Christian, to understand what these words mean to you and your mortality, but it can also give you something to understand the scripture better, so that if you're trying to memorize this scripture for ritual, maybe this video can help you do that as well. So let's jump straight into this, and we're going to start by recognizing our mortality and the importance of establishing our faith in our youth. So the first words here are, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth. To me, I think that says that while we may be more apt to think about the religious consequences of our life when we are near the end of our life, we would be better served if we remember them in our youth and make upright and moral decisions throughout our life. The next line is, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. The presumption here being that at some point just being alive might not provide you with any pleasure at all, and you'll be ready to pass on. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened. You can actually compare this entire section of verses back to chapter 13 of Isaiah. So I think that if you really want to understand these better, go back and check that out. But you can see this exact phrase in chapter 13 of Isaiah as well. In there, Isaiah is marking the coming of the Lord. So here, being used in this context, it may refer to the sign of your impending mortal death and the judgment to come thereafter. Nor the clouds return after the rain. I'm not sure about the weather patterns of the Middle East, but where I live, we can generally expect for the clouds to clear up after the rain has passed. The rain provides the moisture and nutrients plants need, but they also need the sun. If the clouds keep returning after the rain, the potential for further growth is very limited. Next, we'll start to describe how the body begins to fail us in age. And the first line for this segment says, "In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble." One could argue that the keepers of a house are its framework, the studs and beams that hold it up. Comparing that to our bodies, we're talking about the shaking of our bones. Is this just old age acting upon us? Or are we fearing the potential judgment? "And the strong men shall bow themselves." It has been said that time is the great leveler, and that certainly is a message that resonates in Freemasonry. It matters not how strong you were in your youth, age will eventually overcome you, and that can be symbolically represented by the stooping posture of an elderly person. "And the grinders cease because they are few." As we age, we may well lose most, if not all, of our teeth, making it difficult, if not impossible, to grind or masticate our food. "And those that look out of the windows be darkened." Similarly, our eyesight is likely to worsen with age. "And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low." In keeping with the body imagery, we can imagine this to describe how the elderly tend to speak a lot less than they did in their youth, especially when in public. "And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low." Our bodies consistently confuse us with how they respond to stimulus, but even more so in advanced age, where just the tweet of a bird might wake us up, but the joyful music we want to listen to seems impossible to hear. "Also they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way." The older we get, the more attuned we are to the dangers of harming our body, not only from our life experiences that tell us about these dangers, but also because we know it will be more difficult for our body to heal. This fear may well stop us from doing tasks we wouldn't have thought twice about in the past. "And the almond tree shall flourish." While there are species of almonds that produce a pink blossom, there are white ones as well. This is generally accepted to represent the changing of the hair to white. "And the grasshopper shall be a burden." The grasshopper is used in Scripture to mean several things. It can mean a great quantity of people, which could relate to an elderly person not wanting to be in a crowd, or to feel crowded. It can refer to a pestilence, which might refer to the diseases of old age. It can refer to a scattering, which might relate to the elderly who need someone to be close by with them, but everybody has scattered and left them alone. It may also refer to something that is small, signifying how even the smallest activity can be a burden to the aged. "And desire shall fail." Desire could be many things, from sexual desire to be active, or any other desire you might imagine that would fade with age. And finally, we finish up with the ultimate death of our mortal body and the release of our soul. The first part of the verse here is, "Because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets." All of our bodies eventually end up in our long home, the grave, coffin, tomb, etc. And when that finally happens, we will be mourned. "Or ever the silver cord be loosed." This being the spine. It being seen as the main framework in our body, this line alone denotes the ultimate frailty of our general body. Or the golden bowl be broken, this being our mind, which sadly does dissipate in age. Or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, this being our heart. Consider the line in reverse. A cistern holds fluid which must be pumped up and then go out a fountain and into a pitcher. Again, you can cross-reference this phrase with chapter 13 of Isaiah. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was. Have you ever considered how seemingly everything goes in cycles? Here, our bodily and spiritual cycle is completed. Our body returns to the dust, which Genesis chapter 2 verse 7 tells us we are made out of, and which Genesis chapter 3 verse 19 told us we would return to. And finally, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Genesis chapter 2 verse 7 also tells us of our spirit coming from God, and accordingly, just as our body returned from whence it came, so shall our spirit. So there we are. I don't know that you'll agree with every interpretation that I just provided, but if you have another one, please leave it in the comments below. Even if it's just one phrase that you think you have a better understanding of, or an interpretation that means more to you, or means more just to the ritual, the way that Freemasonry is done in your jurisdiction. Whatever the case may be, I promise you, you can't offend me by typing down in the comments that my interpretation is completely wrong and here's what it really means. No problems on my part whatsoever. If you'd like to review what I was reading, I'm sure you noticed I was reading off of my computer screen. I will post a link down in the video description below, and you can go over to whatisamason.org and review the phrase by phrase comparison of what I had typed up. So I hope you enjoyed going through those verses with me. I hope you get something out of it, no matter who you are or what you believe. And I hope you come back for the next video in the Master Mason series, where we will talk about the working tools of a Master Mason. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch, and for all of those who head over to the website and visit the donations page, we'll see you next time. Bye.